Welcome to Into the Cypher State, everyone. This is the premier public broadcast of Galactica Network. My name is Citizen42.Gala. You can also call me Dave. And today I am joined by Cosmos Hoss, our regular co-host, and John from our BD team. Let's just do a quick disclaimer as usual, just before we start, just so no one tries to sue us. So it's very important to remember that myself, John, and Hoss, we are your guides to navigating the Cypher State, but we are not your financial advisors in any formal capacity. So our guests' opinions are their own. If any one of you decides to come up, your opinion is very much your own, and nothing said on this space constitutes financial or investment advice. So now we have that out the way. Hoss, my friend, it's good to see you. How are you?
Doing well, yeah. It's always great to get that out of the way, right? And by the way, I'm kind of echoing back a little bit there, just so you know. But I'm not doing well. Looking forward to this space. It's actually a good topic, I think, and it can resonate with everyone because you can look at yourself. I think everyone is a brand, right? Like we're all brands. So if you're looking to potentially gain something out of this conversation and potentially, create your own brand in this space or just in real life, like I think some of these things that we'll probably discuss will be valuable for you. I know I could share the things that have worked for me inside of crypto, outside of crypto, and my lessons I've learned in my journey of life. And I'm full disclosure 37, so I've been in business for quite a while now. So, I'm here to help in whatever way I can.
Yeah, man. Yeah, like I say, practically an old man, aren't you, Hoss? But we have like this whole situation with like AI, artificial identities, and all this coming up. Your personal brand matters more than ever. It really does. How you doing, John? It's good to have you up, dude.
Yeah, doing well. No, I agree. It's sort of a timeless skill, timeless, way to spend your time, both in, building it and curating it. I was just talking to a friend of mine last night who is looking for a job, and he was struggling with his narrative. And I said, well, what have you been doing for the past 5 years? And he said, well, I've been doing sales. And I was like, great, like, sell yourself and you'll get a job. It's a transferable skill. Everything is sales, very similar with marketing. Everything is marketing, branding. It's all very, very similar. And it just really comes down to your perspective on it. So looking forward to diving in and having some specific and, evergreen ways of looking at this stuff.
100%, man. Yeah. Just before we get to that, we've actually got a news segment to get through, guys. We've actually got a lot of interesting news this week, so we'll get through that before we get to our building brands segment. And really looking forward to speaking about all of it with everyone. So if you have any interest in any of this, guys, so we've got the latest news. We've got a main topic after the news of building a brand during a bear market. If you have any interest in any of that, just give us a request to speak, and you're welcome to discuss it with us. You can also ask questions in the comment section below. While you're down there, you can give us one of those free likes and retweets, and that'd be very appreciated. Okay, everyone. So let's dive right in. I think let's go for our first point of the day, which is always my favorite because everyone likes green candles. So Bitcoin has touched 30K. So hooray, hurrah, well done. We'll give us applause. There we go. 30,000. Good job, Bitcoin. Okay, we'll start with that. We are currently in a bit of an uptrend over today, and this has mostly come on the downgrade of the US, just the downgrade of the US credit rating by Moody's. This happened yesterday, I believe. Moody's downgraded the US's credit rating, essentially. We now have Bitcoin responding to the upside. So this kind of is a very small, I admit, indication, but it's an indication nonetheless that Bitcoin seems to be acting as some kind of hedge against the US banking system. So I don't know if you guys have already seen this particular topic, guys. Actually, I just wanted to speak about this very quickly, just as it's a positive note to start on. But what do you think?
I mean, it's funny. It's one of those things that like boomer friends of mine have been freaking out about for the past 5, 10 years with the debt, just seemingly never stopping. And yeah, I think we're in for some very interesting times. I think it's going to break some stuff. I think some stuff is going to be built to try and fix it. Hopefully, some of that stuff involves crypto. And yeah, just buckling up and strapping in personally.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll go to the audience. If you're active, guys, just give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Do you think that do you just feel like that somehow the world or is just holding its breath or it's on a knife edge at the moment? I feel that way. I feel like we're on a knife edge as a race, as like and as a social moment, I guess. Just give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you think that's true or not. Yeah, I know, boss. So what do you think, mate?
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be ways for people to seek shelter, and luckily there is this thing called crypto and a new monetary system. So, I think it's just inevitable. I believe that like life expectancy has drastically improved, and you could look at like social security for an example. I don't know really where I'm going with this point, but essentially it was supposed to be just temporary, and now people are living way beyond their means, and there's so much debt, and then there's only way to get out of debt is to print more of it, and your dollar bills, and it's just a symbolization of a debt, and it's not really anything that you can essentially transfer in and get something for it, right? And the purchasing power of the dollar by the moment always just decreases. Every fiat system always crashes and just burns because there's no accountability, there's no transparency. But now, for the first time in humanity, there's these things called ledgers and blockchains, and all that is a decentralized accounting ledger. And my background being in accounting is that numbers are perfect. Like there's no way of fixing the numbers. Like a number is there, and math always works. It always makes sense. I mean, people were building pyramids and everything else before technology with simple mathematics, and now we're just taking that to the next level. And I had this discussion on Sunday. I actually did a podcast with some guys, and we were just kind of talking crypto and things of that nature. But my end game theory is, sadly, a lot of this won't get mass adopted until a lot of these people that are in like Congress kind of just expire from planet Earth, and because they're just holding on for dear life. And the problem is that most people in power, they grew up as children and teenagers, and then college kids and young adults and my age, where they didn't have this vision of anything of technology. It just didn't exist. They kind of lived in like a stone age per se, and over the last 20 years, like humanity has changed so drastically. And even if you're in that realm of things, it's really hard to keep up with everything because it just keeps moving forward. And they're just at this like denial stage. I like to think of some people. It's in human nature not to accept change, but change always happens, and now it's exacerbated with technology, and the people that are calling all the shots, for sadly, they're just kind of out of tune with reality. So I don't know like where that takes us, but I do know that as a human, we're all going to pass away. So like they'll eventually need new wood, so to speak, that takes office. And I think the younger and younger generations, obviously, they're immersed with technology from the womb. So it's going to happen. It's just like, how long does it take to happen? Bitcoin's a perfect mathematical equation. We know how much supply there is. Well, actually, we really don't. We know the max supply, but there's less than what's actually out there because people have lost, their keys to their castle, so to speak. But yeah, it's just a matter of time. And then, like what John was just saying, things will like crash, and like the only way it kind of gets, like a reset is for crypto to be adopted because it works, right? Like it shows it works, and there's billions of people on planet Earth that for the first time they can actually save money or show their identities or know that their currency, their crappy fiat, they can change it into a system with other billions of people that would like to get in the game, so to speak. So it's just it's empowering. I don't like look at the charts. You said, oh, it went up to 30K today. That's great. Not financial advice. That's nothing. That's going to be such a laughter 10 years from now to even think that that's what the price is, in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, this thing's just moving along. It's like a train that just, you can't derail it. It takes a long time to stop that train, and regardless of how many things that you put in the way, it's just going to crush it and run it over. And we're seeing that, more and more countries are adopting it. People are literally building, like big, huge, powerful places like Dubai and, other nations are adopting it, and it's going to happen. So like whether America wants to get involved or not, it's going to happen even in America. There's already pushback, and luckily in USA there's 50 states, and all the states kind of have their own thing, and if a state wants it, they get it, and it's not the federal government's per se to intervene with that kind of thing. So it's going to happen. I'm bullish. I'm always bullish. I think all these brilliant young minds, even older minds, I guess I'm an old man in space, that are building these technologies, um, they're very competitive and they want challenges, and that's why they're seeking crypto, because even regardless of some of these points of views from these people that are like really old in life, they might have some legitimate merit to it, but that's why these people are like, all right, well, we're going to build solutions to that, and all this is just a solution. So
I couldn't agree with you more, Huss. Yeah, I feel like we're in a very, as far as like the actual knowledge and the adoption stuff goes that you were talking about, I think we're in a very transitional period at this point. Like I think globally we're in a very transitional kind of volatile period. We have, like you say, gone from a period of very much digital ignorance to a period where we're going to have to be a lot more digitally savvy, where basically our identities, our very selves, are going to be actually verifiable digitally, probably on chain, hopefully in the form of Galactica network. Just saying, and it's just going to require a lot more personal accountability and personal knowledge in order to understand like where your personal data is actually going and how it's being used, and it raises an awful lot of questions. So, like I say, a volatile transitional period, I think, going for the human race in a more digital format. So I would just want to move quickly on because we actually got quite a lot of stuff to go through. So we have Tether. We have Tether, which has been not. I wouldn't. I'm not sure if I would use the word depegged, but it's certainly lost its peg in a very mild fashion, I guess. This has been on news of possible insolvency of the Huobi exchange. So Binance actually started selling USDC and USDT in bulk after learning about the Huobi news. This kind of coincided with executives from Huobi and Tron being questioned by the police. So this is quite an interesting development in USDT, which has always been, I guess, well, classically, has been kind of considered as the unknowable of the stable coins as compared to USDC and others, which are more like centrally backed, I suppose. So, what do you guys think of Tether? Do you think it's like viable for it to keep on going the way it has without like fully revealing its reserves? Do you trust Tether? What do you think?
do I trust it? That's a good question. I mean, do I trust any currency really that's just like a one-to-one peg? Probably not, to be honest with you. I don't in my opinion, I don't think one-to-one pegs are the future. I think there's going to be floating currencies that are like based off of different parameters, whether that's a bunch of different assets and markets and things of that nature, but it's hard to say. I mean, it's just so big. Like I kind of trust it, right? Like it's so big. Like and they got a lot of backers that are, doing their thing. And like you're saying, oh, it's depeg. Like I'm looking right now, it's 0.9999718. So I mean, that's pretty much pegged. You know what I mean? So
I said mild.
yeah, no, I know, but like
Yeah.
even when I thought of mild, I was thinking maybe it's going to be 0.995, but like it's pretty much 100%, so to speak. I think it's
And there's
always more FUD and people that get worried about things, but I'm not overly concerned. But I do recommend people, and I wish I had this mentality, when I first got into crypto, is I think the safest the safest asset in crypto is Bitcoin, in my opinion. So take it as you want.
Yeah, you're probably so. John, you have
yeah,
something.
sorry. So I totally agree that it's a hard question. I think first of all, there's a difference, and this is something that Paulo has talked about. The CTO of Tether and one of the more public-facing entities with Tether. He's said this 100 times. There's a fundamental difference between the market price of Tether and the redemption price of Tether. And the redemption price of Tether is always 1-to-1, 1.00000 to 1.00000, however many. I'm sure they go out to 16 decimal places, but I can't do that off the top of my head. So there's a difference between like the market and the actual redemption, which is a critical distinction that was not the case for most other stable coins that have existed. That being said, digging deeper into it was very concerning. Seeing that Justin Sun allegedly just minted $800 million worth of, I think it was called True USD. This might be wrong, but there was another stable coin that he minted, and then they basically sold all of those for USDC or something. There was some very large level of manipulation going on. And that sort of game theory, I feel like, is beyond the regulatory and operational and strategic safeguards that a reasonable sort of sense of leadership would think about. So I was a little concerned when I saw that, but as far as I can tell, as long as they're still processing redemptions, which they are, and as long as it's still trading, for me, even within 5 or 10% of a dollar, that's still fine. But it really comes down to whether you can redeem your tether for US dollar. That's really the only thing that matters, in my opinion. Just like the value case or the value proposition for Bitcoin is, can you immutably send value? If yes, then it is worth more than zero, and therefore it is not going to zero. So as long as it works, it's valuable, in my opinion.
Yeah, as long as it's whatever's backing it is what it's worth, I suppose. And like you say, just sentiment and what people actually think it's worth.
And I was going to add to John's point real quick before we go to the next question is, I mean, like, think about it. It's kind of stupid to just have like a reserve that's specifically 1-to-1 when you could be using those assets, as long as they're safe assets like bonds. Like I know they have bonds where you're basically, you're earning yield, whether that's just to stay on top of inflation and things like that. But I honestly really don't have too much concerns with that. Like there's so many different stable coins too. So one thing that I do recommend, this would be kind of like my financial advice. If you are going to have stable coins, definitely have more than just one stable coin, in my opinion. Like I think you should have multiple stable coins if you're going to park them, in crypto. Like I think it's, even if it's just Tether, I was like, I would probably want, USDC and then maybe some of these other stable coins, because if my thing that I've learned, I had UST, so that was Terra's stable coin, and we seen how that worked out. And if I listened to my thought process right now a couple of years ago, then it would have been way better off right now. So maybe if you are going to just chill with some stable coins, have more than just one. So you're kind of diversifying that risk as well. It's like a hedge against the hedge, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, if you're sovereignly holding your assets, then I think diversification becomes even more important. And like you say, even in stable coins, you never know what's going to go on with these things in reality, unless you're like unless you have like a a personal eye on every single part of the market at all times. You just don't know. So diversification of anything you hold is so important, guys. Just make sure you're safe out there when you're holding or trading. Yeah, that's perfect, guys. So we have another interesting one. We've got Singapore, which man, I've heard so much information coming from Singapore in like the last month. It's absolutely ridiculous. These guys are moving really fast as far as like trying to become like a crypto fintech innovation kind of hub. So the Monetary Authority of Singapore this time, they've pledged $150 million worth of Singapore dollars. Sorry, 150 million Singapore dollars over the next 3 years for the Financial Sector Technology and Innovation Scheme. So the scheme actually includes like track to back in innovative like fintech solutions emerging from new technologies, which is including Web3. It just kind of like I think they're just trying to make sure they push the importance of partnering like with industry big shots and making sure that like it's all just going to go towards fostering innovation, I guess, in the space. And like I say, there's been so much coming out of Singapore in like especially the last month. We've got also some massive conferences coming up in Singapore. We got Token 2049 in September. We've got which is massive, like a lot of big people go there. We got Singapore Blockchain Week coming out. I think that's in October. So almost everyone's going to be in Asia, I guess, during the fall. So it's a huge deal. We got Wintermute is apparently like that's a huge market making firm. For anyone who doesn't know, they're transferring 4% of its staff to Singapore, following the High Court ruling, which was earlier this year, that crypto is now considered a property in Singapore. So yeah, absolutely massive stuff coming out of the province, and even more coming out of Asia itself. What do you guys think of Asia just overtaking everyone and dominating crypto?
Yeah, I wanted to just say that I just checked real quick because I didn't know what the exchange rate was. That's about 110 million US dollars. So still a very substantial amount of money. It's not like it was like a 50 to 1 or something. Basically, the Singapore dollar is 1 to 75 cents USD. But yeah, it's very interesting. I went to a regulatory speaking event last night, and there were a couple of Korean exchanges, Korean founders of exchanges, I mean, and Korean regulators and advisors. And frankly, the main takeaway is that everyone really is taking guidance from whatever regulation exists. So Mika was one of the big ones for EU regulation. But a really interesting point was that Mika is for a European Union. It is not something that gets actually figured out in the courts. The courts everyone is really looking for corporate law and corporate precedent and case law to be set in the United States. And the SEC, unfortunately, is still the leading indicator there. So although they are moving fast, they are still apparently, at least for Korea, waiting for SEC movement. So it was a little disappointing to hear.
Yeah, no doubt. There's so much there's so much to not like about what's going on in America as far as the just general crypto clarity. It really would solidify their position if they would just clarify things for the companies that are already existent and make some rules for those that are non-existent yet. There's so much coming up and coming in crypto right now, and it moves so fast. If the government of any particular country is just lollygagging, just dragging their feet on this stuff, they're going to be left in the dust. They really are. And the US as a country right now doesn't want to be left in the dust, not at all. Yeah, it sucks.
Well, I mean, I think there will be an administration change, within the next cycle, which would kind of coincide with a bull market, in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, there are so many people in America that realize like what's going on, and that you know, like a lot of people. I think it was Coinbase. I was listening to a while ago. They had a survey, and I think it was a decent amount, say a third of Americans have used, you know, of legal age, have used crypto in one sense or another. It might have been a quarter.
Yeah. Coinbase said 110 million.
Yeah.
Yeah, so about 1 in 3.
And then out of those people, it was like an overwhelming 83 or 84% said that they would purchase or use crypto again. So, you know, like that's the thing in America. Like a lot of times people are, you know, they're conspiratorial or whatever. But at the end of the day, like if you make enough noise and you reach out to your local, you know, politicians, and you kind of get it going, like it's where you got to start at, as the bottom, and make your way up, because it's really, again, like America, how it's set is where your local is where it's at. You know, the federal only does certain things, and they're not in charge of the states. Like that's why there's governors of the states, and he or she are like the presidents of the state. So, you know, they all kind of do their own thing, so to speak. And I think it's just going to happen because there's a lot of states that are really down for crypto. Like they're all about it. So, you know, those are the states that will make some noise first. And then it's just kind of like the butterfly effect. It'll just one by one, even if a state initially is kind of resistant to crypto, just like there were states that were resistant to like medical marijuana and things like that. Eventually it just becomes a thing. And people like crypto, you know, like there's a lot of people that come to America, they work, they want to send money as cheap and as fast as possible, and it's obviously crypto. So, you know, like that's one use case. There's so many different use cases, but yeah, I mean, I think too, whenever like some of these other countries start to get more traction with Web3, it's going to really start to irritate a lot of people. You know, they're going to be like, because we have this cavalier attitude in America. We want to be the best at everything. And if another country is good at something, or like is kind of overshadowing us when we're supposed to be the tech hub, and because we were the tech hub and we are the tech hub, and you start to see all these developers kind of just start to go to other pastures, it's really going to irritate people. And I think that I would not be surprised if 2024, and you know, this year and next year, kind of going into like the presidential cycle, crypto is going to be kind of a main topic. You know, there'll be other ones like abortion and other stuff, but like I think crypto is going to be definitely a topic of choice, in my opinion. So, I mean, the ex-president has a freaking NFT collection. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know. I think it's going to be a matter of time, even for America.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. And by the way, those are impressive figures. Like having 1 in 3 people having like I assume having at least had exposure to crypto in like some technical sense. And that's at the point in the industry that we're at now with the current UX we have. I feel that's impressive. Like it's currently difficult to get like onboarded into crypto, I would say. So that's awesome. Yeah. Sorry.
I want to ask you this. You're probably going to mention it because we're kind of speaking about stable coins and onboarding, but are you going to mention anything about the PayPal stablecoin? Did you see that?
I was just about to segue.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't want to cut you. Do your thing. I just wanted to make sure we're going to go over that. Go ahead.
Nah, man, I appreciate it. I appreciate that. So yeah, speaking of seamless cross-border payments and crypto payments, PayPal has launched a stablecoin on Ethereum, citing a shift towards digital currencies. So they're calling this new US dollar pegged stablecoin PYUSD, PYUSD, and this is in partnership with Paxos. So I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe Paxos is the same people who back USDC and BUSD, that kind of vibe. They're very much a heavy hitter as far as backing stablecoins. And yeah, Paxos will issue the PYUSD coin, which will be fully backed by US dollar deposits, short-term treasuries, and cash equivalents. So this is starting yesterday. Eligible PayPal customers were able to actually start making some transfers yesterday using this new stablecoin. Use it for purchases and just about everything you can do with PayPal with this stablecoin. And the broader rollout will be planned to continue on for the next few weeks. So yeah, apparently, according to the PayPal CEO Dan Schulman, the company's vision is to kind of like integrate this stablecoin into like the entire payments infrastructure, like everything underlying PayPal. So just every payment infrastructure you can think of. And yeah, it's basically, and there's just a quick note, like this has actually kind of been in the works, I guess, since as far back as 2021. So the block reported back in 2021 that PayPal was considering the release of a stablecoin, but there were a lot of setbacks, and it was apparently supposed to go live in 2022 on either Solana, on Solana for like for the FTX exchange. Funnily enough, so there's a lot going on there, and it's taken them like a very long road to get here. Obviously, you can if you're part of if you're one of these PayPal accounts that can use this and try this, then it's something to look at on your account. So, what do you guys think? PayPal getting involved in stable coins? That's a big centralized entity once again getting involved. I'm not entirely sure how much control they have over this. Maybe John first.
Yeah, they have 100% control. So the standard with stablecoins is, one second, and turn my AC off because it's noisy. I'll survive for like 7 minutes before I die of heat stroke. Anyways, so the current status of stablecoins is that they can basically freeze your assets, right? That's normal. Everyone's sort of come to terms with that. And we say, okay, if it gets stolen, it can be frozen. That's good. This one goes a step further, and they can actually wipe the balance, as I understand. So if you have $1,000 in your account and they decide that you're an enemy of the state, they can just wipe that account, and then you have $0 in your account. And you've also probably been put on some special designated, entity list. So that's bad. Yeah, that being said, PayPal has, I think, also over 300 million users. A lot of those are international, a lot of them are American. But the really, really big thing that gets me excited is that PayPal is the number one payment processor for eBay. Apparently, 75% of all value on eBay is transacted via PayPal. Obviously, Venmo is also a part of PayPal. And yeah, just from a network economics, network activity, MEV, fee burn, staker fees, all that stuff, there should be tens of billions of dollars additional value flowing on the chain. And that is not inconsequential. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of business use cases. That's business to business. That's business to consumer. That's consumer to consumer. And it's real. I mean, it's happening. The Pi, or I don't know how you say it, but the PYUSD contract is live. You can view it on Etherscan. It's tagged. Fun fact, one of the first transactions that was sent via that contract was for 69.42069 degen token. I don't think that's officially related to PayPal, but it is great that the first transaction on the Etherscan there, for if you go to ERC20 transactions, is that. If you scroll all the way to the bottom, great little piece of history. But yeah, it is probably one of the largest things definitely it is the largest thing to have happened since the merge happened successfully, and then the withdrawal was enabled. So extremely large, extremely bullish, hard to overstate how large of a deal this is.
Yeah, I mean that's I didn't quite realize that they could they included the ability to wipe your account balance, but regardless, I guess of the this is just got to remember, guys, these are financially aligned entities, like private companies. So if they're going to do this, they're going to go full dystopian. They don't even have to answer to people like supposedly governments do. So they're just going to go full dystopian if they get to implement these kind of things. But there are obviously upsides in just the onboarding sense, I guess. So if people are happy to give away not only their privacy, but also the security of their assets, they have a very easy onboarding process, and they already have. I'm not sure if you mentioned how many users that is, John, but I'm assuming that's a hell of a lot of users who just basically get automatically onboarded, or at least close to. So what do you think about all this, Hoss? I assume you have quite a bit to say on that one.
Yeah, so yesterday, I don't remember what time it was, but I seen it yesterday. Before, it would have been before today, like this time. I did a little breakdown of the little TLDR on it that it allows. Like basically, John kind of covered it. I looked; they're using the oldest version. One thing I couldn't understand is why they're using the oldest version of Solidity, like the contract. But I guess it may be because that allowed them to be able to pause all transfers and freeze addresses to prevent actions. Maybe, I don't know. And also it allows the admins to increase the total supply at will. So I'm okay with it because one, I'll never use it. I hate PayPal. And what's crazy is I would love to know the numbers. Like that's a substantial amount of people, but like myself, I still technically have a PayPal account, but I won't use it. I'm sure there's millions and millions of other people that technically have a PayPal account just for whatever, but they don't actually even use it. But the thing that I do like about it is, yes, it can onboard people, and in fact, if it just onboards, anyone really, right? It's always going to be a plus positive for our space, and then it's just up to the people to educate and kind of reach out to these new users that are going to have all these new questions, and I'm hoping that I could be an integral part of any new person that comes into the space, whether it's now or whenever they wait, like most retail does, and maybe Bitcoin's at all-time high or surpasses it, and then people for the first time are going to throw their money in there or whatever they're going to do, because that's just human nature. They need confirmation of what's going on, and instead of doing the work like the people in here right now are doing. So shout out to those people. But yeah, I think it's a plus, right? Like it's an option. I'm all about optionality. So like, yes, they could do all this crap that I would never want to partake in, but maybe there are people that want that. They feel more safe because they're like, look, I'm clueless on the computer, but I want to get access. I want to kind of buy some stuff or get these stable coins. And maybe PayPal, I don't know what their intentions are, but maybe they're going to offer some sort of interest on your PYUSD, and then people are going to be interested in it because it's like, well, this is beating the bank account, so now I'm going to just buy that and hold that and get more interest and yield on that than I would from my own bank account. So like, it's definitely going to be a plus. And the fact that it's an option, right? Like people can use it if they want, they don't have to. And some people I spoke to are like, oh, that's step one of a CBDC for America. I honestly don't think America is going to have a CBDC. I just don't see it anytime soon, at least.
I don't know, dude.
Nah.
They literally. I wasn't trying to interrupt, but the Fed literally just announced new processes and clarifications for banks to transact in stablecoins. This literally just came across the newswire. It's like it's not looking good for anti-CBDC stuff.
Nah, I still don't think it's going to happen in America.
All right. We'll see. Tune in in
Yeah,
6 weeks, everybody.
I mean, there's already states that are outlawing it. So, like I said, you can't force someone to do it, right? Like maybe one state does. Like California is real radical. Maybe they do it, but that doesn't mean like someone in a different state has to do it. Like all your money has to be in some central bank digital currency. Like paper is still technically legal tender. Like I honestly don't think that we would ever anytime soon, at least while all the people that are running shop now are going to be like, you know what? Everyone that has paper money, you have to turn it in, or else,
it's happened before.
In a year from now, with gold. That was a very long time.
Well, no, it's also happened in other countries, but yeah, the U.S. is different. But I mean, there's a big difference between states and the federal government. I mean, it is going to be, I think, one of the largest states versus Fed fights that we've ever seen, frankly, because I agree in principle with all the stuff you're saying, but then the logical part of my brain is like, well, the federal government is just going to cut funding for every single state for infrastructure that doesn't agree to do this. I mean, that's how the federal government works, is the federal government provides state level infrastructure funding, and if they don't get their way, they just pull the funding, and then the elected officials get replaced, and then the new officials come in, negotiate the funding, kiss the ring, and that's how a federal system, in my understanding, works. So
Yeah, you're not wrong.
it's going to be a brutal fight,
No,
but
I
we'll
think what
see.
they'll do, in my opinion, they already kind of have it with the Fed now, and now I really don't have a problem. If someone's living off the government, you kind of have to abide with the rules of the government. For those though that like want nothing ever from the government except for safety, right? Like here's my taxes, just leave me alone. I want to feel safe when I go out. I don't want to feel like I'm gonna die going to a city or something. Then it's like here's my tax money, leave me alone. But for those, if you're living off the government for whatever reason, like you are dependent on the government, if the government says like you have to get these stable coins and that's how we're going to pay you because it's more efficient, it saves us money, and it's more transparent, then I guess it's kind of is what it is. I mean, I still don't agree with it, but whatever. It's like you're dependent on it.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? But I honestly think it's going to be more trial by fire. I think other countries will do it, especially more maybe dictatorships or communist style countries. Maybe they'll adopt
Mm-hmm.
it first, and then America will look and see, like, you know what, that's a really bad idea, or you know what, actually, it's kind of a good idea. As long as we change this and that, and we can do this and that, maybe we'll do it. So I wouldn't roll it out ever, but I
Yeah.
just think America would be one of the latter countries to force CBDCs. I do think that they'll offer stable coins. Like maybe USDC will be something, or this new PYUSD. I don't know, but like I think they'll get with the
Yeah.
program.
It's interesting though. I just looked it up, and PayPal actually has 435 million users. So that's over 33% more than the United States. And effectively, I do believe that, I mean, first of all, disclaimer, I've always believed that the federal government will allow the private markets to test out new technology, stress test it, break it, get hurt, fix it, bring a better product to market, blah, blah, blah. And then the government, basically takes it and says, thank you. So I personally see the PayPal USD as a common sense in between from decentralized stablecoins to a fully central bank digital currency. And I think the fact of the matter is that PayPal is one of the best positioned private market participant, or actually it's a public market now, but yeah, like this is going to be a battleground for this sort of stuff. And I just don't think people care about it enough to fight it. That's the biggest, thing that for me speaks against what you believe, Haas, is that even if you believe it, you don't believe it enough to fight against it. And that's really what it comes down to these days is, do you hate something or feel strongly enough about something to go outside of your normal deviations of behaviors to do something and risk your comfort, your energy, your money. I see it as inevitable, frankly.
I think there's a lot to break down here, and obviously, guys, if you are currently with PayPal, you're currently having a PayPal account, then you can now transact with the central bank of PayPal. Isn't that fun? So okay, it's a good, I guess, like you guys say, it's a way of stress testing using private companies. But I don't know. I see it as just a dangerous intermediary step, if anything. I do not like the idea of anyone in this space getting caught out by a private company having the ability to deplete your money. That's just terrifying to me. And this is one of the many reasons why we are building the protocol we're building. So I'll just do a very quick reset, guys. You are currently listening to Into the Cypher State. This is the premier public broadcast of Galactica Network. We are currently in the process of building out our social side of our protocol and rewarding people who help us in the process. So if you'd like to get involved with Galactica Network, become one of our very first citizens of a blockchain. This is like a new concept. You've never been able to be an actual citizen to a blockchain before, with all the requisite social institutions and everything else that goes along with it on chain. So if you want to get involved in something unique, something innovative, and something special, check out the pinned link at the very top of the space. In fact, I think it will be the very first pinned tweet. Thank you for deleting that one.
Yeah, you're good.
So if you want to just get involved in that, guys, just check out the pin tweet. You'll need to jump onto our Discord, and we will be happy to help you along in any way in getting you onboarded. And basically, you will have the opportunity to go through our Cypher State campaign and earn your very first Galactica Network citizenship. This comes along with a lot of benefits. And also it doesn't cost any money. It costs your social, your social contributions. So you just have to go through a few Zeely quests. You have to just provide some value to our protocol at this early stage that we're in, and we will be able to reward you either with a Galactica Network citizenship or with the opportunity to get into one of the earliest waves and buy one. So it's huge value. And as I say, the actual citizenships themselves, they come with massive benefits. The primary one, I guess, that most people are interested in is the universal basic income. So once you have a Galactica Network citizenship in your wallet, you essentially have rewarded to you on a regular basis an income, which is based on the value output of the entire Galactica Network blockchain. Yeah, it's essentially just an income for life. Once you have this citizenship in your wallet, it's for life. No one can take it away from you. You are a citizen of the blockchain until either the end of you or the blockchain and the governance system decides that you are a malign actor.
Yeah, or the heat death of the universe, whichever comes first.
Death of the universe. Sure. Yeah. That's great. Okay, so please just check out the Cypher State campaign by clicking on the top link. Also, if you could do us a favor, really appreciate this. If you could give us a like and a retweet on the space, just by clicking on the bottom right button, go into the comments section and giving us a like and a retweet on the space. It gets the recording out to a lot more people, and we really appreciate it. Okay, guys, so there's been a lot of news today. A lot of news, wow. And it's all been really interesting stuff this week. So we're just going to move on to like our topic of choice today, which is building a brand, whether that's a personal brand, I guess, or a mostly I guess a project brand, a company brand during a market downturn. We've got Horse up here, we've got John, both guys massively knowledgeable on this kind of thing. So I'm going to be poking some brains. And if you guys would like to come up and ask some questions, or if you have any input on any of the subjects that we're going to bring up, please just request to speak. We'd be happy to have you up on the panel. Okay, guys, if you're ready. I'm just kind of curious. I'm going to start it off with a quick question on like the dynamics of a bear market. So specifically, like during a bear market, how is the Web3 space in this way compared to like traditional markets? Are people, I guess, as volatile as the markets themselves? Is there any other like real differentiator between like a Web 2 and Web 3 in building a brand? Maybe Hoss first.
Yeah, so I mean, like when I first started doing content ever, in fact, I never even had a Twitter before. I think it was July or August of 21. I never did any social media for the most part. I'm kind of just like a chill guy. Like I don't like to do any of that, but I understood in this space that, you know, Twitter was where it's at. All the founders and people were tweeting stuff out instantly. And if you only use YouTube for your point of reference, you typically, by the time it's on YouTube, it's old news. You know, it's just the way it is, because a lot of people don't do live broadcast on YouTube. They want to edit their videos and all this other stuff, but people just tweet out and it's instant knowledge. So like I grabbed one at that point, and you know, it was kind of when the market was doing really well, and I started just to have some fun with some stuff, and then now I'm here. But like the difference between that and now is that, you know, there was way more activity, there was way more engagement, so you kind of have to pivot. And I think my lesson, and just for teams in general, because I've spoken with, I speak with probably 2 or 3 people per day on private calls, and most of them are actual founders of different blockchains and teams. And a lot of the teams right now are struggling for, you know, user base. Like that's just kind of how it is. It's because it's human nature. When the going gets tough, a lot of people tap out, and they only come back whenever, again, the Bitcoin's rallying up, and now they're like, well, I got to get back in. It's, it really is FOMO. But you just have to be more personable. Like, the thing about Web3 compared to Web2 and other things is that people like want an experience in Web3. They want to be able to see things, they want to be able to do things, touch things, they want to be a part of crypto. So it's like you kind of have to alter your thing. Like, the thing that I never understood was when projects would hire people from the outside that have zero clue or experience of crypto. More so, it may work a little bit over on like a monolithic chains like Ethereum or Solana, because it's more kind of traditional based. But in Cosmos, it's 100% complete opposite of like how things are operating, and like traditional stuff just doesn't work. You have to know what you're talking about, or else you're instantly just like, oh, this is a scam or this is crap. Because if you don't know how to speak the lingo, the language, the terminology, and interact with people on their kind of level, then your marketing just has no merit to it. It has no credibility. So, like, I didn't even mean for any of this to happen, but my whole goal initially was, and it still is just to help educate people, because I understand people don't have thousands of hours of time to just do research. And when the virus first happened, I had time to kind of go down that rabbit hole and just immerse myself all day long with data and reviews and reading white papers and asking questions and just getting in it, and so I took that and kind of was like, you know what, I want other people to be able to get into this space quicker than I did and feel more comfortable. And if I can help anyone on board and answer questions. And that's kind of one of the things that I still do and recommend for anyone that if you're ever trying to grow, a business or your own Twitter or YouTube, is, you need to engage with people. You need to answer all their questions. And then you also need to be human. And if they're posting stuff, interact with it sometimes. And not only just like some short reply, but add value to the reply. Like, be knowledgeable. When you're knowledgeable, people want to follow you. They want to understand you. And that's the same thing with people that are posting from like maybe their main accounts. Like, if you're actually adding value to people, they're gonna want more. So that's the thing in this space. You have to bring value, add value, and keep going, because and it keeps evolving too. That's the thing too. Like, you can't be lazy in this space, because if you take a week off and you don't kind of catch up on it, you're going to miss out on a lot of data and knowledge, because things change so rapidly in space. I don't recommend it if you want to have a life and do both. It's really hard. It's very hard to do both, and be on top of things. It's really, really hard.
100%. It moves so damn fast. It really does. And like, I found the same thing, that people in crypto and Web3, we are very, very much we're assaulted with scams and exploits and everything like this, like, and social coercion on the daily basis. So we are not only jaded, but we're also very aware of all of this stuff. So if you sound like a robot, if you sound like you're just spewing the marketing line, no one's going to listen to you. No one at all. No one's going to care. Yeah, John, what do you think on this Web 2 versus Web 3 in building a brand?
Yeah. I mean, I think it really comes down to authenticity and consistency. I do a lot of in-person networking, and I very much enjoy connecting with people, and helping people find their careers, their passions, etc. I've done some coaching. I'm not doing it currently, so don't DM me asking for help. But if you do, I'll probably help. And it really just comes down to, like, what do you actually care about? What gets you energized? And that is the authenticity. That's the energy that people can get from you. Nowadays it's usually referred to as a vibe. But that's a part of it. The other part is consistency. And I was just reading through some of the Twitter or X distributions from influencers and for getting their impressions. And 55 million impressions gets you about $1,500. That's from one that I just saw. And it is interesting to think this through about how people are going to change their behavior now that they have different incentives, because Twitter used to be a Web 2 platform. And people would play the game of, clout farming and stealing content and engagement, farming with emotional or greed based things. And now that there's a value layer added, we're sort of at this like Web 2.5 moment for Twitter. And I'm not going to call it X, just for the record, but it's going to be very interesting to see how the incentives in like this sort of 2.5 version work, because we've seen how the incentives go in Web3. I mean, we saw last week, we talked about Richard Hart and his sort of hex fiasco of, how his incentives sort of were the downfall of him personally and professionally, because he was always trying to get as much clout as possible, and that became his brand. Whereas I'm sure his brand initially started with, delivering value for people. So I think there's a lot of similarities between Web 2, Web 3, and in person. But for me, it really just comes down to authenticity and then consistency. And when you do that, people will respect you, because it's very difficult to be consistent, and it's very rare these days to be authentic. So if you do those two things, you'll have a magnetic personality. If you reach out to people, if you follow up, if you have good communication, that's honestly the differentiating factor for me and my success between other people that I've worked with, and even friends. Your communication, your authenticity, and your consistency are, if you don't have those, it's going to be very, very hard to succeed in this space.
I firstly 100%, John, completely agree. Secondly, you are going to get us banned. You are going to get us fucking destroyed by Elon Musk if you don't call
Uh-oh. Yeah.
Gotta call
I
it
don't know. It's been a good run.
And thirdly, like having a financial incentive. We've discussed this often. Having a financial incentive when it comes to a social interaction has a massively malign impact on the social interaction every time. So this is one of my primary issues with what Elon's been doing with Twitter currently. It's fine, as John says, you can kind of see it and you can kind of understand, but as long as you're aware that there is now a financial incentive behind everyone's words, and like those words now have might have a slightly intonation, slight different meaning sometimes when there's a financial incentive behind it. Sorry, Hosmat, you have your hand up, please.
Yeah, and then I was gonna say too, like anyone that's getting started, whether this is in crypto or just in general, if you're trying to grow a brand, I mean, you just can't expect anything at the beginning. And I didn't do this, like I've been in business, for a long time. It's what I went to school for. I just did Twitter, I did Telegram because I was enjoying it. I was having a good time and I wanted to add value to every person. And I didn't expect anything in return. Essentially, what ended up happening is it kind of turned into a growth hack. I did so many Twitter spaces and so many calls and so much stuff for free that over time it started to turn into way more opportunities than I even imagined. I get to travel and go to crypto events and do a lot of this stuff for free, and all because I'm reliable, I'm accountable, and I'm respectful, and I treat every conversation. And it's just me older, but I've been like this my entire life. Is like the one thing that I will recommend to you, and it literally is advice, and it's great advice, and it always will work, is to be respectful, regardless of if the other person or other entity is not. You don't have to get like bullied or anything, or you don't have to be happy with it, but airing things out in public and bad mouthing people it's never going to work. It doesn't matter. Like if you have a job and you like leave on bad terms, you should always be grateful for every opportunity, every situation that comes to yourself, because if you're not, and you're bad mouthing people, or you're causing drama. Like no one likes drama. Maybe if you're younger, you'll see drama, and this it just doesn't work. Like think about it. If I was running a crypto company or any company, right, and Twitter was like the main source, And then I go on and someone's being a jerk all the time and just being like, you know, just a jerk. Why would I go, hey, would you like a position? We're hiring for marketing, or we need a community manager. It just doesn't work. Maybe you get more followers by acting like a jerk, but it does. You shouldn't do it for followers. Just be genuine and help, like actually add value and want to help people, and don't expect anything. Now, if you feel like you're starting to get used, then you just prioritize the people that are actually valuing your time and your efforts, and then it will all come back to you. But I know people reach out to me like, oh, you know, I want to do this, I want to do that, and I give them advice, and right away they're expecting all this like monetary value. And it's just not the way to perceive yourself, especially if you're not experienced. Like, you just can't do that. And that sort of mindset can work in everything business related. You know, I talk to people for a living, the job that I currently have, and people are very unhappy. And the ones that get the best service and get the best results are the ones that maybe they're not happy with the situation that they're basically having a claim about, but the ones that act really respectful, you know, they get the result that they want. But if they call in and they're pouting and shouting and name calling and acting like a jerk, they're probably not, the end result is not going to be what they desire. So always be respectful. Like, that's just the way you got to be. Like, you just got to do it, because that person that on the other, that conversation, they're going to be like, man, that person's legit. Like, they're respectful. I really like that person. And then if there's an opportunity or someone reaches out to them and say, hey, do you know so and so, they're going to recommend you. Like, that's how I am. People, you know, I get hit up all the time from different entities, like in crypto and businesses and stuff. And they're like, hey, do you know anyone that could be an admin? Like, the pay's not that great, but, you know, it's a start, right? It's like, you got to be a janitor sometimes. And I'm like, yeah, man, there's this person that's always being respectful. They're in my comments. They're like really, you know, asking me really good questions. And then I see some of their posts, and they're helping out others, and then I'll recommend them. And then you never know where that's going to lead you. But, you know, if I see you crap posting and you're being a jerk to people, it's my reputation on the line. I'm not gonna be like, oh yeah, reach out to so and so. Like, you know, that's just not how the world works. So that's my
So
advice.
that's actually a really interesting intersection, Hoss, because you are like with every single person, like, well, not every single, but like a lot of people nowadays trying to build this personal brand, right? Your personal brand. It's really important. It's your reputation. It's how you interact with other people. I don't think people understand the full implications of that, because right now, you know, in the off-chain offline world, you have somewhat of a two-stage personality. You have your at home, you have your family, you have your extended circle of friends, you have your reputation within your group there, and it seems it's somewhat separate most of the time from the whatever persona you have, whatever reputation you have within, say, within your place of work, within your official capacity, whatever that may be. Now, this is like with everything we're talking about with the advent of like digital identity, with the advent of reputation on chain, and all of this stuff that is inevitably coming in one form or another, whether dystopian or whether free and fair on blockchain with good incentives. It's coming, and it will intermingle both those things. You won't have a personal reputation and an official reputation anymore. It will all be intermingled and mixed in together as a single person, as a single set of reputation, and it won't be easy to like disassociate yourself with that anymore. What do you guys think of that as just a notion of only really being able to have of not being able to disassociate yourself from your brand?
So, so this actually comes down to a really basic thing when you talk about like incentives and actions and ultimately surveillance, and this actually can be tied back to Galactica, which is where if the government is surveilling every single action that you do, there is really no freedom of speech, freedom of economic activity, and therefore, you know, pursuit of happiness. And so I think there's definitely something to say for being authentic and public and all that, and to, you know, be considerate, respectful. 100% agree, you know, Haas, when you're talking about, trying to get help from people, you have to be respectful, because at the end of the day, it's their choice whether they help you or not. But I think another interesting conversation is around, the provision of privacy, and making it so that you're able to act without government surveillance, without credit score surveillance. And it sounds a little dystopian or I don't know about dystopian is the right word, but it's just important to be able to have the privacy, as well as the sort of reputation, so to speak. And that's one of the things that actually, made me really interested in Galactica initially, was that you can have the proof of the reputation while you still get your sovereignty, while you still have your privacy, and you can prove things without, showing your entire wallet balance, for example. That's a big thing for me. I was talking to my stepfather, actually, and he asked, why would you need anything to be private? And I said, well, imagine if, I paid you $5 for something, and as a result of that, I knew your entire financial history associated with that one account. He immediately got it. He was like, that's insane. I would never want that to happen. And I was like, right. Well, that's where ZK rollups come into play, ZK proofs. And I think that, that intersection of privacy and reputation is the reason why I'm here, frankly. So it might have been a little out of left field for you guys, but I saw an opportunity to tie it all together, so I figured I'd take it.
I'm thankful for it, mate. I genuinely am. So yeah, guys, I think John just hit the nail on the head, and identifying the most important part of all of this in regards to if you're going into this space unknown, or if you do know what you're doing, and you're looking at digital identity, you're looking at protocols with reputation frameworks, such as Galactica Network. The most important thing you want to consider in reality is your privacy, and your ability to have self-custody of your data and your assets. Those three things. So your privacy is it's absolutely paramount. And if you within a government system, you will probably have very little. They will say you do, and they will try, I guess, in some situations. The EU, for instance, is attempting to build in some level of privacy. I believe I haven't read too far into it, but I believe they are. And yeah, it's the most important aspect, being able to transact in a private manner, not a secretive manner. A private manner is a fundamental right, as far as I'm concerned, and it's something that we believe at Galactica Network very firmly. It's something we're enabling right now. Even we've actually just started our DevNet, and we currently are testing our zero knowledge KYC framework, which allows you to essentially be KYC'd on chain and be able to prove that information to other people on chain in a completely private manner. And that's not only on chain, you can be private, that's also the link between your on chain identity and the provider of your KYC. So the provider never knows your blockchain address, and they can never associate the data that you've given to them with that blockchain address. So we want to maintain your privacy at every single step, and allow you to transact with your reputation on chain in a very private manner. So it's a very innovative technique. It's a very innovative tech stack in general, to be honest. We've got an awful lot to discuss, and we've got an awful lot to try and educate people on, because it's very technical in nature, and we're trying to get this out in a way that's kind of digestible for everyone of all skill levels. So yeah, thank you very much for bringing that up, John. I appreciate it personally. I really do. So we'll go on to another question. We've got a few more to go through. So I guess we haven't really got the actual pool of people in Web3 right now is small, and that pool of people, the small pool of people, is not as active as it used to be. So I'm just going to ask both of you: have you guys come across maybe any campaigns or content strategies that just really nailed it during the bear market? I'll maybe go with John first.
Oh man. Other than gambling, really there's not been that much. I'll have to think on it a little bit more, but Rollbit has they've had, I've seen them all over the place, and there's been all sorts of noise and drama, but it's hard. I mean, we're what, 18 months into a bear market. People are burnt out financially, emotionally, and this is on the back of COVID, where people were isolating for 2 years. It's hard. But I think, obviously I also, Pudgy Penguins, shout out to Luca for just crushing that and transitioning from Web3 to Web2 in the real world with their toys. They've gone to a lot of Comic-Cons and other sort of real world events. But those are really the only two that I can think of that have continued to have substantial progress, let alone even maintained, from 12 months ago. So yeah, it's very, very difficult. But on the flip side, when those companies stand out, they really stand out. So as I always like to say, the next most successful companies are always built and forged in the bear market. So yeah, looking forward to seeing more.
And I got to mirror that comment on Pudgy Penguins. Man, Lucas done a great job. And I feel like that one could have almost been done from Web 2 to Web 3 if he had if he'd come up with the branding, if he'd pitched it to a traditional lender, just the style, the narratives, all this stuff. He could have done from Web 2 to Web 3, and that's the kind of thing that impresses me when.
Yeah,
when
I don't know if it could have, because the way that he got it. I'm not sure if you're familiar with how Luca acquired Pudgy
not
Penguins.
So yeah, educate me, please.
Yeah, so initially the project was formed, and I might get some details wrong and do your own research and blah blah blah, but this is going to be broad strokes correct. So basically the project launched, it sort of launched as like a meme. Things went up, things went down a lot. And Luca basically came in, and I'm pretty sure he spent $1 million of his own money. I'm just looking it up real quick because I do like getting these things right. But he spent the money to buy the brand, to buy all the IP, and he had a business plan. Oh, $2.5 million. Okay. So so he buys it for $2.5 million and had the business plan in place to do the Web 2, to do toys, to do content, media strategies, community growth, both IRL and online, and really, really approached it as a business. That being said, he was able to buy the intellectual property and have proof of distribution because of the Web3 elements. The NFTs as a technology layer, in my opinion, enabled global distribution on day one, and it enabled a sense of identity and community that was shared online globally from day one, that made it a highly leverageable piece of intellectual property, in my opinion. So I hear what you're saying, but just from how successful this is and how successful I think it's going to be, I think the core value proposition was fundamentally related to the the day one global distribution potential, which comes with cryptocurrency and Ethereum as a virtual machine.
Yeah, I can agree with your point there. To be honest, yeah, honestly, like I say, I wasn't fully educated, but the I do feel like the IP itself, there is value in it, just an intrinsic value in the style, in the characters, in the narratives, and I feel like if that had been pitched to, I feel like someone in the traditional world would have maybe picked that up. I just like to see projects that have some kind of fundamental value instead of just subpar art and number go up. So regardless, it's nice to see. So Hoss, what do you think? I mean, actually, I've got a couple of projects that I think did well in regards to how they built. There's actually a couple that I researched today. There was one called Space Riders, I think, and there was one called Creators, the Creators NFT, and they both seem to build in the same kind of format, and it seems to be like a format that's been used a bit more regularly over the last few months. In that they like created a set of like founding kind of members before they do anything. So they create like a really highly incentivized kind of small group of people who are like a group of like either like influencers or they have some value that they can bring to the project. They create that group first, and then from that group they then build out into stages into like the next like another group of a larger group of people who are essentially educated and incentivized by the previous group until you get up to the public mint, at which point there's a lot of traction, there's a lot of social buzz about it, and then they launch to that kind of thing with all that backing behind them. It's a very like social kind of reputable method of building a community. So I like that. That was interesting. Sorry, and Hoss, please.
There's been a few. Like I know one in particular. There's a couple that I'm actually a part of. So I like what Akash does. Like on a technical side, think of it as like an Airbnb for your graphics cards, with cloud computing, and it's been performing really well. And it's an actual company that's specifically tech based. It's not just like, oh well, we're an idea. Like it's a legit company. And like they do a cool thing. They call it the Insiders, and once a week they'll have, it's just like a kind of think of it as like a country club almost. And it's free to. It's just like you have to have good reputation. Like it's only by invite only. But if you're a part of that group, they do once a week where they'll have, like a kind of like a podcast that interviews other founders and like very powerful people in this space, like that kind of just give you their thought processes on things or what they're building. And it's kind of just like low key and collaborative and things like that. And you kind of just tune in and it's very informative, you can get a lot out of it, so to speak. But as for, like the Pudgy Penguin thing, there is Bones by Jarritos, which most people have heard of Jarritos, which is the Mexican soda drink, and they have a small collection, and it's like they do a lot for the people that are holders, and I'm a holder, and they have like all kind of contests and games and collaborations with real brands like Nike and like they have their own shoe line and clothing line, and it's really cool to see them kind of implement Web 2/Web 3, and the collection's really really good. If you just own one of those, like you're basically outperforming the market. And like the other one that no one talks about, but anyone that's like kind of in deep in Cosmos, my PFP is a bad kid, and it launched I think March 11th of 22. And if you would have just bought those and held those, you're outperforming basically anything in crypto. And it's just like a low key kind of cool thing. It was the first collection in any crypto to hand draw their NFTs and basically created an environment. And they don't chill. It's not like these typical Ethereum collections where they're just like shilling, trying to get fake volume and all these other tactics that they do. It's more like, look, we don't shill, we don't really advertise, but we're going to keep building things and collecting and making collaborations with other teams. And they like the founder, he'll build something else out and just airdrop it to the holders. It's just a collection. Technically, it's worthless, but people value it. And like it's really cool what they're doing. They host parties, they interact with people, and low key I think every dev in Cosmos has a bad kid. And so it's like one of those blue chips that's going to be around because it was different. Like they're the first ones to do it. It's not just like some other ape or some some deviation of something else. Like it was the first one to do it. So now like anyone that hand draws, it's basically a deviation of what they did, derivative, so to speak. And they do a really good job of, like, they don't market, but it's low key, kind of just like a small tight knit community that just they just believe in it. Essentially, they're just believing in the technology of Cosmos, and it's just like, well, as Cosmos grows, we grow.
I think that's the key right there. Is like you say, these kind of like social clubs, these just communities, really tight knit communities, small ones that keep themselves together through the bad market turns, and just keep on building amongst themselves and keeping themselves up and keeping themselves upright. So like, I guess that kind of brings on the question: what's kind of like the secret sauce to keeping the vibe alive in those communities and like keeping the trust intact during this whole time?
Well, I mean, again, it's like the expectations. You have to build a culture of people that just necessarily don't care about short term. I think it's always best to have people that are educated and understand, like, history and how long things take. And if you set your business model around being just a marketing company, like most cryptos, especially ERC 20s, that aren't established but they're newer, they just tend to be marketing companies. All they do is just pay VCs, and they just do the same rinse and repeat crap, and it's just like an idea with no real backing to it, and all they do is shill, 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 pay shillers, and it's not genuine. And then at some point it kind of just crashes and burns, and maybe some of the people that are building these technologies, they move on because there's so much pressure and to deliver in such a short period of time. And that's the thing about technology, especially brand new revolutionary technology. It takes time. So if you have like deadlines, and that's why, like, most teams, if you ask them, like, hey, when do you expect to have that new upgrade, or what's the date that you would like to launch this product or that product, they're pretty much idiotic if they give you an exact time frame, because it's all experimental. Like, this technology is legit experimental, like all of it. Even Ethereum, I mean, it's in Solidity. Like, Solidity, there's not one developer that will tell you, unless they're just naive or narcissist, that'll say, like, Solidity's better than Rust, and this is why. It's not. It's slow, it's old, it's clunky. There's way more exploits. It's just like, why do people not speak Latin anymore? You know what I mean? Because it was old and antiquated. Other languages might have derived from it, but it was more efficient, faster, quicker, whatever. It's kind of like the same thing with Solidity. But like, things change, man, and people got to realize that. And I think the people that have issues with it tend to be on the younger side, because they don't remember, when 2000, everyone and their grandmother was saying that the internet was a scam, and it was for weirdos and people that don't have a life, and just like weird people, right? And it was like the worst prediction of humanity, is to say like the internet was a scam, because everyone's life was altered by the internet. And the bullet, like, just to keep. And that's why I really like the Cosmos people, not to be like some sort of maximalist, but it tends to be more on the tech savvy side of things, and understanding how technology works and how it will work in the future, and how it's slow, and people. That's why I like to always give metaphors and analogies of like what this tech is and what it does, and kind of say, well, it's kind of like roads or a railway or a canal, and this is what they're doing, and this is what needs to be done after that. And I just wrote a piece comparing Ethereum and Cosmos, and saying that, like, why do people, like, we'll just use this analogy, why do people want to go use Ethereum, and they might get mugged on the way over there, or kidnapped, or someone might shank them or steal all their funds, but they go to Ethereum because Ethereum throws the best parties, is the most entertainment, there's the most of everything in that skyscraper, but the roads are terrible to get there. There's no highways that are good. Like, there's no parking. You got to pay fees for everything. Like, absurd, because it's like they're like Ethereum's like a sports owner. They know you're going to come and pay $12 for a beer and $6 for a hot dog, because you're going to pay, because you want that underlying entertainment value. And Cosmos is more about, like, we're going to build the best roads, the best highways, the best airways, the best everything. And now it's like, they got to find a way to get that entertainment. They got to get those skyscrapers to build, and they got to get these people over there, because as much cool roads and things you have, it's like having all these roads with no cars on it. Like, how do you get the cars on it? Like Ethereum, it's like they founded, they came over to America and bought the best plot of land, and were like, we don't care about the roads and all this other stuff. People are just going to get it. We're just going to build this giant skyscraper, and then people are going to want to pay for everything. Even if they use the elevator, they're going to pay a fee. And that's kind of like what the status of this technology is right now. That's why I'm like, we're so early, man, because people will legit rather go swap a ERC20 token, some meme bullshit, right, and spend $17 on gas fees just to make a swap, right? Or like send USDC on Ethereum for $7 when they want to send you 50, and then it's like you have all these other options that were they're pennies, you know, or micro pennies, and they'll still do it because of all the entertainment's over there right now. So, you know, it's like for no good.
You know what? ETH sucks. Cosmos rocks. We know you're an actual maxi. Okay, you are a Cosmos maxi. Just admit it. It's okay.
Well, yeah,
it's okay.
I like the fact that these other technology solutions are for common people. So, like, if you're a common person and you're not making a substantial amount of money, or you didn't get, ETH at like a few dollars or $100, like, you should really care about that type of stuff. And don't get me wrong, like, I think there's always going to be a place for Ethereum. I really do. Like, it's not like I don't own Ethereum. I own Ethereum, but I don't want to transact, and it's a bad experience. Like, who the hell wants to do that? Like, what if you have, you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. Like it's just a worse experience.
It's just a bad experience.
Well, Cosmos as an infrastructure layer is just superior in my view. It really is. So I've got one more question after this, but before that, John, do you have any thoughts on like keeping the vibe alive in a community and just generally keeping trust intact during a long period of bear market?
I mean, I think coming down to expectations, I think is important. Projects that I've worked with and I've advised previously, if they were doing a monthly thing and there wasn't a lot of engagement and it was taking a lot of time, I recommended that, they switch to a quarterly thing. So once every 3 months instead of once every month. And it really just comes down to keeping everyone's expectations in line with the reality. But, having engagement, having something to do other than crypto is also very important. You have to have balance. If you have people who, get used to spending their time online 24/7 during the bull market, and then the bear market comes and that positivity shifts to negativity, that community can implode very quickly. And there's really not much you can do about it if it does implode, other than reassess and try and get new people in. But frankly, if times are tough and people are terminally online, it's very challenging. So I don't think that there's a silver bullet, but legitimate relationships, and communicating with people in a way other than about price action or financial things is critical. And there's a joke that people like to say, which is it's not about the money you make but the friends you make along the way. And for me, for a lot of people who've been in the space for more than 5 years as well, they all say that the only reason they're still here is because their friends here are not fair weather friends. These are people you've been in the trenches with. These are people you've shared legitimate fears and concerns and uncertainty and doubt. And people treat you the way that they're going to treat you. But when people treat you when times are tough is the most important indicator of who they really are inside. And so I think that in general, if a community goes toxic, step away from it. You have no obligation to try and right the ship as a community member. If you maintain your mental health, then you can come back and do more for that community later. But at the end of the day, the people who get really, really frustrated with where their community is going and they try and add fuel to the fire, you're never gonna overcome the stress and anxiety of someone who's lost, who's down 90% on their investment. And if this was a meaningful amount of money, it's just going to bring you down. So I think for me, it's, build real relationships that are not financial in value, meet with people in person, make new relationships, talk about things outside of crypto, but ultimately be more than willing to step away from things if you need to, because this is an extremely volatile space. When we're talking about building a brand in Web 2 versus Web 3, the thing that I immediately thought of was the financial incentives, but also the whiplash of the volatility. And if you don't take time to invest in yourself and your mental health, you're not going to be able to build those relationships that will then help you get through the tough times. So, yeah, just you got to focus on yourself, make sure you're in a good place, make sure you're not investing more than you can afford, and then try and connect with people and really connect with them on more than the price action and, we're all going to make it type stuff. Yeah, that's the main thing.
Beautifully said. Absolutely beautifully said. Hoss,
I
please,
just
man.
want to add a quick one liner to that, because it's absolutely true. I say it all the time, is like my thesis with this whole journey in crypto was like, tomorrow if it all went to zero, will my life be okay? Will I live? Will I be able to still eat? Will I be fine? Do I have a wife that loves me? Like, will I be okay, basically? And the answer is yes. So I'm just grateful for the journey. And one thing you learn if you're in business, and all smart business men and women and people that you typically tend to be on more of the successful side, is you can't have emotion. Like, we're programmed as humans to be very emotional, and you could see that like through, like, if you just even use like the media, they'll basically pry on emotional structures of humans. But like, if you can kind of take that out, remove that in this space, it's going to be a great time. You're going to enjoy the ride. You're not going to get up too high, you're not going to get down too low, and you're kind of just going to be even kill. And if you can find a way to have that same thesis as myself, as what, I'm not over leveraged. If I did lose all this, don't get me wrong, it would suck. I'm not going to be happy. I'm not going to celebrate, but I'm going to be okay. And do I want to be on the sidelines and not go for it? Or do you want to be that person that's like, you know what, I'm not in crypto, but I want to wait till Bitcoin gets to 75,000 and then I'm going to put it in there, because now I'm reconfirmed. Like, it has to keep going up. And those are the people that get wrecked, because they're like, if you believe in something, go for it, man. Like, life's all about making mistakes and learning from your mistakes. And especially if you're on a younger side, like whether it's in crypto or whatever, you have to take more risk. Like, everyone that's been successful in life has taken some sort of calculated gambles and risk at some point in their life. So, take it as you will. But at the end of the day, if you're just grateful and happy for everything, whether you make a lot of money or not, like, you should be okay in a space. But if you're like to that point where you only make X amount of money and you're basically putting it all into crypto and you're expecting like to pay your bills, making some profits in crypto, I think you're just insane. And I would never recommend that to anyone, because you're going to torture yourself, probably going to take years off your life, and you're going to be unhappy. It's just the way it is.
Oh man, you guys are spitting fire tonight. Really are. Guys, please take care of yourselves. And realize that, one of the main things that I would recommend everyone do is try, regardless of how difficult it may be, to separate the social from the financial. And in most things, to be honest, it's the financial aspect of blockchain and Web3 is its Achilles heel as well as its strength. So, we have built the greatest financial rails in history. We have, the past 15 years, we have built that. We've built something that's superior to just everything that's come previous. However, it is a finance-based system, and it has a massively malign impact on the social interactions we have in this space. Again, goes back to the kind of like the monetization of Twitter, and all these social platforms. To be honest, so just try as much as you can to foster real and genuine relationships, and it's just massively more valuable than anything else you can do in this space right now. So, like from Galactica Network's perspective, we are a small community right now. We have been building throughout the entire bear, the entirety of it and more, to bring you a social protocol where you can actually transact without finance if you want to. You can have, you know, DAOs that actually work in a sensible way and are fair and free, and all the other, you know, massive benefits of Galactica Network that I'm too long to list right now. But yeah, like separate the financial from the social in your life if you can. Okay, guys. Well, I think it's been a wonderful space. I think I'm probably about to rug, so I can see my Twitter lagging. So I'm going to say goodnight to everyone. I think I just want to thank Cosmos Hoss and John for coming up and being such fantastic speakers. So I don't know if you guys want to make a quick take, maybe Hoss first, just before I rug the space by accident.
Yeah, man, it's been fun, and I always appreciate everyone that's showing up, listens to the recording, and is trying to do better for themselves. So, you know, always take pride in the work, because it's the work that, you know, gets rewarded. So cheers to that. You guys were awesome. It was a good time, and yeah, I hope anyone got any value out of it. To me, it's a win. So thank you.
Yeah, likewise. This is great, and I think it's just such an interesting time to be alive and active in the space. And like Haas said, you know, really the goal is to operate from a position of strength, and the counter of that is to not operate from a position of necessity, or feeling like you have to invest, or you have to make money. The goal is primarily stability, and then once you have stability, you'll be able to leverage your resources, your brain, your experiences much better. It's something that I've been working on myself for the past 2 years, and it happens once you are able to really see the playing field for what it is and not be moved around by the news. You will be more successful. So work on yourself and work on your relationships, and success will follow.
Thank you so much, guys. It's been an absolutely amazing space, and like the takes and the insights that we've got today have been top notch. They really have. So thank you, guys, everyone in the audience, for joining us today. Make sure you leave us a like and a retweet on the space when you leave. And I just want to say, please join us on next Tuesday for the same space at 8 o'clock UTC, and we will be very excited to see you at that point. So yeah, thank you guys, and I will see you on the next episode. I think I'm about to rug, so I'm just going to put on some music, and thank you very much for coming, everyone. I appreciate it.